The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning. Welcome to Catholic Chicago. I'm Father Greg Sackowitz, the rector of Holy Name Cathedral in Chicago. Mark Tracy got unable to join today. He's running a few errands and just can't be, but his health is fine. He's doing great. Tremendous program lined up today here on Catholic Chicago on this frigid December day. Chicagoans purchase Chicago shares, which are food vouchers from the website or a local church. The purchaser shows a good voucher with people experiencing homelessness and food insecurity. The voucher recipients then use the vouchers to purchase food and personal care items from local partners. The vouchers cannot be exchanged for alcohol or tobacco. There's a great program today for Catholic Chicago. We have with us as guests two wonderful people, good friends, King Poor and Liz Kolbeck. King, Poor, welcome. King and Liz, welcome to the program this morning. How are you?
Fine. How are you doing, Father?
Good.
We're doing well, and it's always, we thank Catholic Chicago for inviting us back. Liz and I have done this twice before. It's always a pleasure to be on this program, and it's always a pleasure to talk about Chicago Share, something that we care about a lot. And if we can spread the word, we're always grateful for that. So,
well, first of all, King
thank
and
you
Liz
very
have been
much.
Great guests. And now the one thing I did learn before the program started, which almost canceled the program, is that Liz and her husband and family are diehard, it's even hard for me to say, Green Bay Packer fans.
Packer, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's very difficult to say, knowing that you beat us last Sunday. However, we have a rematch on Saturday, December 20th at Soldier Field. But the Packers are a very good team, but it's fun just to be able to kibitz back and forth. But now, I've said this before, Liz and King, and that is, Chicago Shares may be the best kept secret in Chicago. I'm always trying to promote the Chicago Shares for parishioners at Holy Name Cathedral. So maybe for a moment, King, what is the history of Chicago Shares, and what is it?
Well, you're right, Father Greg. It is something of a secret because we're a small organization, but we have our own mission, which is unique and one that has been around for 32 years. And the program started in large measure thanks to the help of Holy Name Cathedral back in 1993. And as you mentioned, this is how it works. The idea was that when you walk through the streets of Chicago, and I've commuted to Chicago and walked the loop for over 40 years, that you often see people sitting on the sidewalk or standing with a sign that says something like, "Hungry, anything helps, God bless." And I think I share this same feeling with most people, and that is, you want to help somebody, but you don't also want to contribute to some kind of an addiction or have it go for something other than food or to sustain them. So what do you do? And sometimes you can just walk by. I sometimes tried granola bars or things like that. And then I read an article in Streetwise about an organization called Chicago Shares. And as it turns out, it was founded 32 years ago, and with the help of Holy Name Cathedral. And we have done, it's very simple, but here's how it works. These are vouchers for food that can be redeemed at any one of our 26 jewel stores throughout the Chicago area. And so how does this work exactly? If you, as the person who wants to help, go on our website, chicagoshares.org, and you can purchase these in as little as few as 5, but for as much as you want. And they come in packs of 5. You can tear them off, and give them however many you would like. But in today's world, a dollar doesn't buy much anymore.
Right.
Um, but and then the person who receives these takes them to one of our jewel stores on the list, and they can buy what ever they would like. It's very open-ended. It's not limited just to food. They can buy uh, personal items, anything except alcohol and tobacco,
Yeah.
and that gives them the independence to have choice on what they need, and so that's been the history of it, and it's worked very well for 32 years. We have sold, at last count, 1.4 million of these vouchers.
Which is amazing. Now, I do
For the
know
last,
this, and that is interesting, King. When I arrived here back in 2016 at the cathedral, one of the first weeks I was here, I was talking with Cardinal Supich, and we were talking about Chicago shares, and he says, Greg, don't give cash to the homeless. He says cash promotes bad behavior. Just what you were saying before is, I'm not saying that everyone will take the money for alcohol or drugs, but the majority do it. In my 9 years here, only 2 times has it happened when I was to give a coupon book of $5, because there's 5 $1 coupons in each booklet, and I gave about a year apart 2 individual men Chicago shares. They said a real bad word to me and said, "No, I want cash." What very simply means is they don't want the booklet here to get food. They really want it for drugs or alcohol. Now, in some cases, it may truly be used for needing food for their children, whatever. But again, Chicago shares is one of the best kept secret. But here's another thing, and I'm going to get Liz in the conversation. About 6, 7 years ago, the fact that I'm at the cathedral now, and like you say, King, many homeless at the corner, is about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I went up to one of the homeless guys that I knew and said, "What's the hardest part about being homeless?" He said to me, "The hardest part of being homeless is that nobody looks at you." And I thought, wow. I thought he would say winter, lack of food, lack of shelter, heat in the summer. But he said, nobody looks at you. And I thought to myself, how many times have we seen a homeless person sitting or walking toward us, and we divert our eyes because if you don't look at that person, they don't exist. So I thought to myself, what a horrible way to live. Nobody looks at you. They're not recognized as a human being. So I make it a point not only to give a Chicago shares, but I talk with them. But now we all have to be very realistic, and that is, you can't help everyone. If you're walking from the train to work, you run into 5 or 6 or 7 homeless individuals, you can't help everyone every day. You'd go broke. Question for you, Liz, and that is, how did you get involved in Chicago Shares?
We came to the Chicagoland area from Packerland in 2000, right at the end of 2012, and we went to a church service over at Fourth Presbyterian because we knew who was speaking that day, and we were Episcopalians, but we were taking a break from church shopping and went there, and they had something in their weekly bulletin, and then some information about Chicago Shares in the front of the church. We grabbed it, we called, we talked. We got on the phone and talked to our former president, Ron, who is still very active on our board with us. And he introduced us to the program. And I would say within 6 months or a year, I was on the board. And so I go back in history quite a while when we were getting ready to celebrate the 20th. And just was so proud of the model that this organization used. We've always been involved since we got married. Many years ago, up in the Sheboygan County area in Wisconsin, we've always been involved with feeding ministries and feeding and clothing the poor. So it was just a natural for us to be attracted to this program. But I just have so much respect for how this program works. I also have a great deal of respect for all the wonderful people that I've met, both the people that I've met on the board and who are affiliates with Chicago Shares program, but also with those people that I've met on the street who are just trying to I mean, they many of them just live from day to day. And the fact that we can help and that they have some choices in how they are going to spend this money is just very important. Some of the stores even allow people to buy bus passes with the money. They also, some of the stores that have pharmacies, those vouchers can be used if they need a prescription. And I think that's been particularly helpful for our migrant population who often can get some triage work or some or get some diagnosis from a doctor, but then don't have the money to pay for the prescription
Hmm.
because they aren't eligible for some of the other benefits that would include prescription drugs. So I just love the fact that that this program has continued to grow and find other ways to take care of people's needs besides just the food at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and so it's great. And I mean, and so who if anybody knows about the program and hears about the program, I can't believe that they don't find some way that they can be helpful. From buying shares to, to doing some of the work that Poor and I and you do, Father.
the thing is that I know that once a month, the Holy Name Cathedral, after the 8:30 Mass and 10:30 Mass, we sell Chicago shares in the back of the cathedral, and there's a very brisk sales because many people are aware of it, many are not aware of it. But now, for example, if you live in Park Ridge, if you live in Winnetka, there's not going to be many homeless on the street, so there's not a jewel that's around there. It's more the Chicagoland area. Now, for just a moment, King, is what parishes, maybe we don't have a list, but how many parishes are involved or organizations in Chicago Shares? Cathedral is, Fourth Pres is, Assumption is,
I've got a list. I would think it's in the range of about eight or so.
and those
And
parishes, like maybe once a month or weekly, whatever,
yeah,
sell
or
Chicago
Assumption is,
Shares.
is one that stands out, and it's we also
Moody
have
Bible,
Moody Bible has been a great support.
huge.
Yeah, um, and St. Peter's on Madison. I mean, I'm going to leave. I don't want to mention too many because I don't want to leave anybody out. But the way this program works is that we rely um, so heavily on the support of our network of parishes and other churches, other houses, and we're open to having other houses of worship,
To expand.
synagogues or mosques partner
It's
with us too. It's not a um, it's a non-denominational interfaith kind of effort, and but we have historically really looked to parishes and a number of churches in the Chicago area who've been great, and we've tried to recognize them beginning last year with some um, awards of more shares for their
Right.
congregations, and that's what keeps this running. And I also want to just um, give a shout out to the Jewel organization in Albertsons, which is the parent company. Um, this program wouldn't work without them. They have been
absolutely.
they have been so open to partnering with us, and it's a benefit to them. And when they, to the extent like when somebody comes in and spends $10 worth of shares, I mean, they that's $10 to them. We then reimburse them
So
for that
example,
$10.
So Jewel is getting reimbursed on the food, with the
Right.
product through Chicago Shares, and it's interesting that when I, hand a booklet to Chicago Shares to somebody, 90% of the time the individual is well aware of the program. Says,
Yep.
"Oh, Father, thank you very much. I'm going to go down to Jewel, get myself a sandwich or a drink," and once in a while I have to explain and say where the location would be. Now, beside Jewel's, Jewel store, aren't there a few subways that also honor the Chicago Shares?
There used to be a network of there's one on Ohio, um, but we had another network um, before the pandemic of Mac Greens and the like, and unfortunately after the pandemic they were no longer in business. So it's mainly Jules and one Subway, and thanks to the the help of the Jewel organization, we've expanded in more recent years to Evanston, and we've got
Hmm.
two on our list in Oak Park now. So um,
It's really
it's
grown.
it's grown. We have 26 altogether.
Yeah, all I know is that my experience is Chicago shares works. The homeless are very, very appreciative to receive it. And it just takes away that whole sometimes factor. If I give money to someone on the street who's homeless, will this be used for food or is this for drugs or alcohol? And again, as a cardinal said to me years ago, don't promote bad behavior. But again, being the best kept secret, we got to get word out about Chicago Shares because when people find out about Chicago Shares, I know people who bought $100 worth and they give booklets away to the people on the street. And it's now granted to give $5 is not a lot, but it's something. And if certain individuals were to give a person $5 at a time, $25, they can give themselves a great meal or toothpaste, whatever they need. It makes a difference. Liz, you were going to make a comment earlier, and I
Well,
interrupted.
I was just going to comment that many of the churches, I mean, this show is really like an open invitation to both other faith or outreach groups that would like to buy and distribute, because that's typically what these churches do. They buy the shares, they buy $500 worth of shares, and then
Hmm.
they sell them. And then when they need more shares, the church will front the money again and then take the money in from the parishioners that buy. But we also have other ways the churches do of using shares. We are going to be distributing probably about $500 worth in bags, gift bags that go along with our Christmas meal for our homeless meal that we have once a month. I know that Church of the Ascension during the pandemic gave out shares monthly as well, instead of some of the other kinds of items they were giving in bags before the pandemic. They have gone back now to more distributing goods. But I mean, there's a lot of churches that use the shares in a different way than just approaching a person that is sitting on the street and asking for help. They are helping in a larger scale. So I think it's very important that everybody understand the varieties of ways that Chicago Shares can be used to help. This is also an open invitation to other stores or fast food restaurants if they feel called to helping, especially a lot of places are feeling called right now because of the disruption in the SNAP program. The
Right.
fund, it's maybe been refunded, but a lot of people are having to qualify for it, and they're finding that they're, for one reason or another, no longer being qualified, or it's difficult for them due to a language barrier, go through the red tape to get it done. That there are a lot of retailers and small stores like the Stop and Shops that are being called to try to help where they can. And by buying Chicago shares and giving them out, and then also becoming an outlet if they're a small Stop and Shop or a small restaurant. But by being able to accept Chicago shares, they can be part of the team that's helping take away that food insecurity during the SNAP crisis as
Yeah.
well. So, I mean, there just are so many ways it can be used, and so many people that can become part of this process.
Yeah. I also know that the board that we're part of, because I'm part of the board with Liz and with King and the whole group, the board is outstanding, dedicated individuals who work hard, who are looking for no recognition, the Chicago Shares board. So I just want to kudos to the whole board beside King and Liz. It's a great team, about 8 or 10 people. But now, King, let me ask you a question. How has Chicago Shares touched your life? Because in dealing with the poor, the homeless, I know how it has touched my life, but I'm going to ask both you, King, and Liz, how has the whole program and the work that you do serving the poor touched and changed your life?
As I said, I'm retired as a lawyer now, but I spent 40 years going all over the loop, from my office to the courthouses to you name it. So I've walked the streets many times to see lots of different people in those situations who are um, on the sidewalk with the cardboard uh, and the cup or standing up. And it has allowed me to make connections with them in a way that I have never or would have not have done before. Because what I is just as you were saying, Father Greg, this is more than about giving somebody vouchers.
Hmm.
I'd like to call it the bread of recognition. We do not live by bread alone. And this is the bread of recognition because I sort of got into something of a routine on how I uh, interact with somebody to give them these shares. And it's, in some ways it's a secret, but among the homeless community, it's not such a secret. I would say 80, 90% of the time, I'll lean down to somebody and I'll say, "Do you know what these are?" And thinking I've got to explain what the whole thing is like. Oh yeah, yeah, I know them. So in their community, it's not such a secret,
Hmm.
and it allows them um, to have, even if it's a minute conversation or 2 minutes, um, you just say, "How's it going? How are you? How you doing?" It's that somebody stopped and
Took
took
the
the
time.
time and to listen to them, acknowledge them. You say, "Get something good to eat, take care of yourself, God bless," and that's sort of the bread of recognition, and that's what how it's touched my life is. Um, and
Sure,
I've
because
done this
they're
for
not no
many
longer.
years now. Is that it really is it has given me an appreciation, and the more you do it, I think the more you feel like you're called to do more.
Exactly right. Great response, and they're no longer faceless. How about for you, Liz? How has Chicago Shares changed and touched your life?
Well, first, I want to share a little story when you're talking about recognition, and I might have shared this the last time we were on. I was walking down the street between two churches with a little cart with clothing in it that we were moving to be able to give away at the other parish, and looking the same way I do when I normally walk down the street. And it was a beautiful day, and I said hi to a couple people as I passed, and nobody answered me. And all of a sudden, I realized I had this cart full of clothing. And I think they thought I was homeless.
Right.
I wasn't a different person. I didn't look any different than I normally do walking down the street, but they immediately identified me as a homeless person. And either I wasn't worth talking to or they were afraid I was going to ask for something. And so, I mean, that gave me a real appreciation when I put two and two together of what the folks that were helping with Chicago Shares go through on a daily basis. Um,
Boy, that is really, Liz, that is a great story. That is part of it. Sure, because you're walking down the street with clothing in a cart, and you say hi to people, they're ignoring you, is because if they make contact with you and talk, they're afraid your next step will be asking for money. So talk about experiencing firsthand, they perceived you as being a homeless woman,
yep.
and you thought, wow,
Yep,
interesting.
it was profound. What I, besides the contact with the people, as King has mentioned, the wonderful people that I've met who try to do the work that we're all trying to do, which is help others. I've met wonderful people. The synergy that you get when you get a bunch of people in a room. We had a recent board meeting, and our board meeting was a very casual one off of the yearly business that we do, and we just did some brainstorming, and it's amazing when you put 10 people or 5 people together in a room that have a passion to care for others, the different ways that you can come up with, like the Chicago Shares can be used, or that spreading the word, or just what people are hearing about what's going on with the SNAP program or the Chicago homeless, the inability to house people during this coldest part of the year is in the city of Chicago is amazing. And you find out more. Unfortunately, if you just put your blinders on and you don't buy shares and you don't talk to a homeless person and you don't care about helping, you're never going to understand. But the more that you work on something like me with the Chicago Shares program or any of the other outreach programs that we connect with, the more we need more people to care about what's going on, and if you can just buy a $5 book and make an impact, I mean, we are offering people an opportunity to become engaged
Yeah.
with the crisis that's out there.
Now, if
Yeah, and
King,
the way I would look at it, that's a great way to, I mean, that's a great way to put it, Liz. And these shares are, you could, in this all the uncertainty and the difficulty people have had with the SNAP crisis, and yes, it's been renewed, but there's sort of a aftermath of this too that's created a lot of uncertainty and difficulty for people. This is, in its own small way, like a private food stamp program.
Yep,
Anybody can buy these. You can buy these.
absolutely.
I put these in my wallet every time I'm walking around town, and um, and it's a way to connect with people. We now have a Spanish translation on a little slip, so when you hand them out, you can hand it. I don't speak Spanish, but I at least can
Yep,
say um, a few words.
those
But
cards are
this
valuable.
explains it in Spanish,
Right.
so they have the ability to get it, and with the little hand move gestures and the like, they understand what it's all about. So it really is an opportunity for anybody who wants to do that, or if you don't have the opportunity to do that, you can always make a donation, which we use
absolutely. We can
at the
find
end
a
of the
place to get it to that we know there is need.
right.
Now,
And we've
King,
got
Yeah,
a
so
we've
we
got a
yeah.
32-year track record as an organization that knows how to get this job done. So
Now,
and
King,
we
if
have
somebody wanted to make a donation, how do they make a donation to Chicago Shares? One of our listeners today.
they go we the easiest way to do it is just go to our website, Chicago Shares. There you go, right there. And
.org, yeah.
.org, and it will take you step by step. It's very simple. Even somebody like me who's not um, technically in the fast group can figure out how to do it, and that we will mail them to you. You get them in about a week, and then put them in your purse or your wallet or your pocket, and you have them. Or if you want to make a donation, um, we will use those donations um, to make awards of shares to other organizations that are in the business of helping people who are food insecure or homeless. And so every year we look at what we have left over. Not all these are redeemed. Some get lost. Sometimes people forget or whatever. So we don't. So from the money we get from them is not always given to Jewel. So whatever we have, we make sure that that's either um, given in a cash donation to someplace like uh, Dion's Dream, or we've got about five.
Here's the thing. If someone would like to make
Yeah,
a donation or learn more about Chicago Shares, go to
yeah, or
chicagoshares.org.
make awards
Mm-hmm.
of Chicago Shares. We've done this to churches and other organizations that we know that can make good use of them. So um, it's an all
Well,
volunteer organization, and so any donation, if it's not going to pay for our minimal amount of
printing
expenses, like
costs.
Yeah.
printing costs for these
Right.
things, otherwise it's being put to the uses of helping those who need it most.
We need to bring the program
eh,
to a close. I want to thank in a very special way King Poor and Liz Colbeck for joining us today talking about Chicago Shares. And again, to make a donation or learn more about Chicago Shares, chicagoshares.org. Liz, you want to make one last comment?
I just wanted to make a comment, and I'm just as something for all the parents out there. This is a time of giving. Children are usually the recipients around the holidays, but buy some shares and take your children out as you're going out and Christmas shopping and recognize those people and teach your children how to care for others. Give them that share, have them give it to the person. I think it's a wonderful way to teach children that they can also make an impact.
What a great way to end the program. I want to thank again King and Liz for joining us today on the Catholic Chicago. Keep up your great work, your enthusiasm, your love for the Lord. And Chicago Shares is very important. I want to thank also in a special way our producer and director, Michael May, for great work he did. I think assisted by Clint Cottrell. Not sure if Clint's still back there. So to our listeners, may God bless all of you. May the Bears beat Cleveland this Sunday. I'm not sure the program is going to start playing. And the following week for sure, may the Bears beat the Green Bay Packers. God bless. Amen. Continued Advent blessings.
Very grateful
Bye,
to be
Father.
here.
God bless you.
Thanks, King.
Thank
you,
Bye-bye,
and Merry
Liz.
Christmas.
God bless you. And
Bye,
Merry
King.
Christmas.
Both of you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Liz.